Lucas Reed moves into a new apartment hoping for peace. But soon, he starts hearing footsteps in an empty room. At first, he thinks he's imagining things until the sounds come closer. Lucas Reed was tired of his old life. He had lost his job and wanted a fresh start, so he moved into a small, old apartment in the city. The building was old but cheap, and that was all he could afford. When he entered the apartment for the first time, it felt very quiet, too quiet. The air was cold and the rooms were empty. The landlord, Mr. Collins, gave him the keys and smiled. Lucas asked, "Has anyone lived here before?" Mr. Collins looked away for a moment and said, "Yes, but it's been empty for a while." He quickly left after that. Lucas thought it was strange, but didn't care much. He unpacked his bags and looked around. The walls had cracks. The floor made little creaking sounds when he walked. At night, he sat on his bed and told himself this was a new beginning. He was alone, and that felt good, or so he thought. Lucas was tired after unpacking all day. He made a simple dinner and sat on the couch, scrolling through his phone. The apartment was very quiet, so quiet that Lucas could hear the sound of his own breathing. He thought it was because the building was old and empty. After dinner, he went to bed. It was almost midnight when he suddenly woke up. At first, he didn't know why. The room was dark and the only light came from the street outside through the window. Lucas lay still, listening. That's when he heard it. Footsteps. Soft, slow footsteps were coming from the living room. Lucas froze. He lived alone. No one should be there. His heart started beating fast. He listened carefully, step, step, step. The sound was clear. Someone was walking in his apartment. Lucas slowly sat up and held his breath. He reached for his phone and turned on the flashlight. The footsteps stopped. Complete silence. Lucas gathered courage, got out of bed, and walked to the living room. The light from his phone moved across the empty space. There was nothing there. No one. Everything looked the same as before. Lucas checked the door. It was locked. He laughed nervously. "Maybe I'm just tired," he whispered to himself. He went back to bed, but sleep didn't come easy. As he started to close his eyes, he heard something else. Knock, knock, knock. The sound came from his bedroom door. A soft knock, like someone was standing outside. Lucas held his breath again. He didn't move. After a few seconds, the knocking stopped. He waited for a long time, but there was no sound after that. Finally, he fell asleep, but deep inside, he knew something was wrong with this apartment. The next morning, Lucas tried to forget what happened last night. He told himself it was just his imagination. Maybe he was too tired for moving. He made coffee and sat near the window, trying to relax. The sun was shining and everything looked normal. But that night, it happened again. Lucas was lying in bed, scrolling through his phone, when he heard the sound. Footsteps. This time, they were faster than before. Step, 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 moving across the living room. Then silence. Lucas turned off his phone and listened carefully. After a few seconds, the sound came again, running footsteps, like someone was running from one corner to the other. Lucas felt his heart pounding. He wanted to shout, but no words came out. He grabbed his phone and opened the voice recorder. He pressed record and kept it near him. The footsteps continued for a few seconds and then stopped. Silence again. He waited for a long time before sleeping. In the morning, the first thing he did was check the recording. When he played it, his hands started shaking. He could hear the footsteps clearly, but there was something else too. A sound like a soft whisper. He played it again and again, trying to understand. Finally, he heard it. A voice. It said only 3 words. "You're not alone." Lucas dropped the phone on the bed, his face pale. He sat there, breathing heavily, trying to convince himself that it was a mistake. Maybe some noise from outside. But deep down, he knew it wasn't. That voice was inside his apartment. From that day, Lucas started hearing the sounds every night. Sometimes footsteps, sometimes whispers. And each night, they were getting closer. Lucas woke up late the next day, still thinking about the recording. He didn't want to stay in the apartment, but he had no choice. Rent was cheap, and he had no money to move again. He tried to keep himself busy all day cleaning, cooking, watching TV. Everything felt normal in the daylight. But at night, everything changed. Around midnight, Lucas went to the kitchen for a glass of water. When he returned to his bedroom, he stopped suddenly. On the wooden floor, near the bed, there were footprints. What footprints? They started from the bathroom door and ended near his bed. Lucas froze. He looked at the bathroom. It was empty. The lights were off. He slowly touched the floor. The footprints were real and wet, like someone had walked there with wet feet just moments ago. His heart raced as he whispered, "This is not possible." He tried to calm down and told himself maybe there was a water leak. He cleaned the floor and checked the bathroom. Everything was dry. No leaks. No water. Nothing. Lucas locked the bathroom door and went back to bed. He kept the lights on this time. But even with the lights, the feeling didn't go away, the feeling that someone was watching him. Then it happened again. As Lucas sat on the bed, staring at the door, he saw something move in the mirror. A dark shadow passed behind him. He turned quickly, but there was no one there. The air felt heavy. The room was cold. Suddenly, the bathroom door slammed shut even though it was locked. Lucas jumped up, his hands shaking. He didn't know what to do. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat in the corner of his bed, lights on, waiting for the morning to come. The next day, Lucas decided he couldn't ignore this anymore. He had to find out what was going on. He went straight to the landlord, Mr. Collins. "Is something wrong with that apartment?" Lucas asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Mr. Collins looked nervous. "Why do you ask?" Lucas hesitated for a second, then said, "I hear strange noises at night. Footsteps, and I saw footprints." The landlord's face changed. He looked uncomfortable and avoided eye contact. "Look, it's an old building." "Old buildings make sounds," he said quickly. Lucas didn't believe him. "Has anyone lived there before me?" Mr. Collins sighed and whispered, "The last tenant disappeared. No one knows what happened. He left all his things behind. The police never found him." Lucas felt cold all over. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" The landlord didn't answer. He just walked away, saying, "People imagine things when they're alone." Lucas returned to his apartment, feeling more scared than ever. He couldn't stop thinking about the missing tenant. Who is he? What happened to him? That evening, Lucas started checking every drawer and cabinet in the apartment. In the kitchen cabinet, behind some old papers, he found something that made his blood run cold. It was a photograph. The photo showed the living room, his living room. It was taken at night. There was a man standing in the corner, facing the wall. His body looked dark, almost like a shadow. Lucas flipped the photo over. On the back, there were words written in black ink. "He never left." Lucas dropped the photo and stepped back, his hands shaking. He could feel his heart beating hard in his chest. At that moment, he realized the truth. Whatever was in this apartment, it was still here. Lucas could not stop thinking about the photograph. He never left. The words echoed in his mind again and again. That night, he decided to stay awake. He wanted to know the truth. He turned off the lights and sat on the couch with his phone in his hand, ready to record any sound. At first, everything was quiet. The clock on the wall ticked slowly. The silence was so heavy that Lucas could hear his own heartbeat. Then he heard it. Step, step, step. The footsteps were back, but this time they were different. They were slow at first, then faster, moving across the living room. Lucas pointed his phone flashlight toward the sound, but there was nothing there. Then he felt it, a cold breath on his neck. Lucas froze. He didn't dare turn around. His body went stiff. He slowly moved the phone to use the front camera as a mirror. When the screen lit up, he saw something behind him. A dark figure. It was tall, with no clear face, just a shadow standing very close. Lucas jumped and turned around, but the space was empty. He was shaking all over. Suddenly, the lights in the entire apartment flickered. The TV turned on by itself, showing only static with a loud hissing sound. In the static, he heard a whisper. "Stay with me." Lucas grabbed his phone and ran into the bedroom, slamming the door shut. He locked it and sat against it, breathing fast. The footsteps started again, this time right outside the bedroom door. Slow, heavy steps. Then a soft voice spoke from the other side of the door. "Lucas." Lucas covered his ears and shut his eyes, but the voice kept calling his name. He realized something terrifying. Whatever this thing was, it knew him now. Lucas couldn't take it anymore. He decided to leave the apartment before something worse happened. The next morning, he packed all his things in a hurry. His hands were shaking, and sweat dripped down his face. He kept looking over his shoulder, feeling like someone was watching him every second. By evening, his bags were ready. He just had to open the door and walk out. He stood at the door, holding the handle, taking a deep breath. "This is it," he whispered. But when he turned the lock, something strange happened. The door wouldn't open. It felt like someone was holding it from the other side. Lucas pulled harder, but it didn't move. Suddenly, the lights flickered and the room became ice cold. His breath came out in white clouds. Behind him, he heard footsteps running fast toward him. Lucas turned around quickly. The hallway was empty, but he felt the floor shake as the footsteps came closer. The sound grew louder, faster, like many feet running together. Then, the bathroom door opened slowly with a loud creak. The same wet footprints started appearing on the floor, one by one, coming toward him. Lucas backed against the front door, his heart pounding like a drum. He screamed, "Leave me alone." But then, a voice whispered in his ear, "You can't leave, Lucas." His phone slipped from his hand and hit the floor. The screen was still recording. The last thing the phone captured was Lucas being dragged backward into the darkness, his scream echoing through the empty apartment. When the apartment was checked weeks later, it was empty again, except for a phone lying on the floor, still recording. The last sound on the recording was footsteps and a whisper. "Stay with me forever." Asterisk, if you felt chills listening to this story, imagine what's coming next. I post the scariest true and fictional horror stories that will keep you up at night. So don't leave without hitting subscribe and turning on the bell icon, because the next story might be even darker than this one. Also, tell me in the comments, what was the creepiest part of this story for you? I read every comment, and your ideas might appear in my next video. And if you enjoyed this, share it with a friend who loves horror, because scary nights are better when you're not alone. Stay scared and stay tuned. Asterisk.